Uh-huh. Yeah. Aquarius. Hello, guys. This episode of It's Told by Aquarius was recorded on Spotify's new app called Green Room. Unfortunately, I used my Samsung to record on my end, so that's why my audio sounds a little wonky. I'm still Team Samsung, but next time I'll use my iPhone. Enjoy.
Hello, you beautiful people. Thank you for tuning back into As Told by Aquarius. It is me, Aquarius, birthday January 25th, and I am joined by another Aquarius whose birthday is January 24th. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fabulous. How's everybody else doing?
There's no one else here. It's just me and you. It's just me and you. Okay, so we're going to get right into your words of wisdom from the universe and see what information it has to tell you. And it reads, you may be suspicious about what a partner or colleague has been up to. Unless you have concrete evidence of wrongdoing, you are advised to keep those suspicions to yourself. It's quite possible you have misjudged the situation and misjudged them. Does this by chance relate to your life in any way, shape, or form?
I think it relates because, you don't really know what anybody else's intentions are. So I'm pretty sure that I've come across several situations like this.
Recently?
Yeah, recently.
Ooh.
I mean, every day. I believe every day.
You be side-eyeing your coworkers every day?
Hey, man, I don't trust nobody. Sometimes, you'll have a good day at work and, you're just minding your business, more every day. Hello, good morning. You go about your day, and then there are other days when people just start moving very suspicious,
I guess your job is different from mine because I don't have nobody moving suspicious on my job. Simple as customer service.
Well, even in customer service, I mean, you got people who feel like some others aren't doing a job or they ain't doing nothing. Some others are busting their ass and not getting away with a lot of things that other people are getting away with. So, they do that run tell that.
Yeah. No, I understand. But I think on my job, we talk to each other a little bit too much. So, we have a consensus. One day, it actually happened that we all decided that we wasn't doing shit. We got in trouble for it later, but it was worth it. We felt like a family.
Well, in the healthcare system, everybody's just really watching whose workload is more or less than everybody else's. And, it becomes a little tattletale game that they like to play.
Oh.
But I don't pay none of that anymore. Because I'm going to do what I'm going to do regardless. Got time for these haters.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to you today about some of the flaws that Aquarius may have, but more so in the sense of the male Aquarius. Only the reason, one, because obviously you are a male Aquarius, and I have been seeing some extremely negative things about you guys online, and I would like some insight from a male Aquarius to help either not only myself understand, but help the peoples to understand. My question to you is, while in a relationship, what do you think some of your flaws are?
That's a tough question, because I don't think Aquarius feel like they do anything wrong. At least male Aquarius at that. But I know I can become, let's say, I'm personally just me, more of an introvert. So I like my space. So maybe not giving as much as attention as the other person may want. That could be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Reading deeply into situations. We try to make sense of things that don't really make sense at all, but you try to make sense of it.
Wait, so you're saying that you don't try to make sense of a situation, or you think too deeply about a situation?
I don't try to make sense of a situation that I don't think makes sense.
If you can, give me an example, because I understand it, but I don't at the same time.
Well, that's because you're an Aquarius.
Well, no, I would probably relate to it. That's why I said I just need an example. Not only for me, but for the people. They may understand what you're saying and be like, okay, I get it, but not fully. So if you have an example, then I could be like, I agree with him 100%.
Trying to think of a good one.
Even a simple one would do.
Even that.
Or anything that you've experienced that can be related to that statement.
Something that I experienced. I guess it's gonna seem a little cheesy or whatever, but I guess in relationships, when a woman feels like it's a man's job to do certain things, so women, even though it is a very simple task, a woman feels like she just shouldn't have to do it, period, so they don't.
Well, that's more
I
so
would,
patriarchy, though.
yeah, but I mean, if you're home, let's say my lady is home all day and the garbage is full. The garbage is not a big garbage bag where it's too heavy for her to carry outside herself, but I come home from a hard day's of work and the garbage is still there, but it's there for me to take out when you could have just took it out.
Okay. I understand that. Did y'all like agree on who takes out the garbage, though?
Nah, and if you do that, that is so stupid to me. How do you set ground rules like, yo, you got to take out the trash?
Well, some people just like even
It's
the
a deal
idea
breaker in a relationship.
Well, no, that's not. I wouldn't say setting ground rules for certain things are deal breakers in a relationship. There's just certain shit that some people do, and there's certain shit that, like, in the idea of you being with somebody and they know how to cook, but they're not that good at it, or they don't really care about doing it. I'm more than likely going to be the one that cooks, unless I just asked you wholeheartedly, oh my God, I'm dying. Can you please make dinner today? 9 times out of 10, it's naturally expected for the woman to cook by default. You know?
Why is that?
That was patriarchy. That was been installed since the beginning of time, before me and you existed. It's not saying that it's not anything that's going to change, but naturally, who is more taught how to cook? A woman is taught how to cook. Men aren't usually taught how to cook. Now, there are exceptions in certain households, but women are taught how to cook. Women are more than likely being up under their mother or in the kitchen with their mom while they're cooking, so they just either learn it by default or their mom specifically teaches them how to cook. So it makes sense that when you do get in a relationship, by default, a woman is more than likely going to cook the food versus a man coming in and always cooking the food. So that's where the whole idea of you taking out the garbage is coming from, because, you know, the existence of patriarchy and women doing certain things in the household, men doing certain things in the household, that has always existed. However, when you do get in a relationship, either you choose to break those ground rules or set new ground rules.
Understood.
You know?
But how long has it been since anybody's really followed that?
That goes according to per person in their relationship.
Understood that too, but I think that all of that stuff goes by how you're raised and culture. I think more Caribbean people than men, especially I would like to say in the islands like Jamaica and Trinidad and Guyana. A lot of those men know how to cook better than women, and a lot of men do a lot of cooking in the Caribbean world. So I think it's just where you from.
Well, not only that, like I said, it just goes per person. If, for example, when I was in a relationship, my ex cooked. He didn't cook as often, but he cooked. He liked certain things that I cook, and I literally liked one dish that he cooked, so I cooked the majority of the time. He had no issues, no question. Yes, it was literally just one. He made bomb-ass spaghetti. It was spicy. I couldn't replicate it. It was weird. But that was how it was. I usually cooked all the time. When I wanted that specific meal that he made exceptional, then I'm like, look, I'm going to need you to make the spaghetti because that's what I would like to eat. And, you know, I will buy the ingredients. And when you got the time, get to cooking that spaghetti. And that's pretty much it. But like I said, certain things that we know by default when it comes to any system, whether it was patriarchy, whether it's economical, whether it is in, you know, the system of the law, all that shit has been installed way before we existed. So we know that they exist, we know that there are rules that exist. We have the choice of bending them, breaking them, or making new rules. You know?
I agree.
So that would be something that, in the idea of a relationship, you need to find out ahead of time, like, what kind of, relationship rules, so to speak, do you subscribe to? It may be a really weird question to ask, but that would be something you would need to find out to then decide, am I always going to be the one taking out the garbage? You know what I'm saying? So that would be a flaw, So that would be one thing that you would have to decipher. So besides you trying to make things understandable, what would be another flaw you would consider you would have in a relationship?
I know I'm very homebody,
Mm-hmm.
and that may do some damage. I do like to go out to places and stuff like that, but most of the time I do like to be indoors inside the crib and just relaxing and chilling. And that may have an effect, because as many times as you can try to treat your lady to a good cook home meal, or run bath water and stuff like that, they like to be outside. They like to be taken places, and they like to be bought things and stuff. And
I think that would be
even
for anybody, though. After a certain point, the home is boring. You need to go outside at least once.
Yeah, but a lot of people want to go out. Some people like to go out every day or every weekend. So I think that plays a big part in my downfall, because I'm not always ready to just hit the streets and shit like that. I think I would try to be a little bit more outgoing than I am, because I see how much, it affects the other person. Some people like to get treated and shown that you care. Like, I forgot what that love language is called, but
affirmations.
Yeah,
that's words of affirmation, actually.
Well, yeah, words of affirmation, but I think it's gifts and something.
Mm-hmm.
But people like to be treated, Well, I mean, not mostly women, not men, because I don't think.
What?
No. How dare me what?
You're talking about mostly women, not men. You know how many men love to be treated?
No, men like to be. That's not what I'm saying. Men like to be treated, yes, and men like to be like acknowledgement of the things that they have done, appreciation, mostly. But I don't know no man that's just sitting around whining like, yo, she don't ever take me nowhere. Come on.
Well, how often do you sit and have boy conversations with homeboys? How often do you sit around a bunch of men and y'all talk about your relationships?
I've never had a discussion with no other man, and he said he don't know what he gonna do because his lady is not taking him out places and buying him things. Like, that don't even sound right. Like,
okay, yeah, in that sense, that's understandable.
Like, I don't think this relationship gonna work, girl. She's not being tentative or nothing.
Well, I think that's something that most men just choose not to voice, because that's definitely an important part. Why y'all don't voice it, I don't know.
I've never felt like that in a relationship. I feel like a man was always taught to treat the woman and not to be treated, but not to be taken advantage of at the same time. Like, no, men want to be treated, but I think in different ways. I don't think a man is sitting there complaining like, my lady doesn't take me out to eat or take me shopping, things like of that nature. No man is laying in bed with their hands folded, wondering why their lady ain't turned over and start holding them and cuddling them and stuff like that. I don't.
You'd be surprised the shit that I read on the internet. That's why I'm saying, like, a lot of times, especially now that we have the internet, everybody can share their opinion, share their thoughts, share their feelings. But previous to that, men, for the most part, at least for me mentally, have the same exact feelings as women. Of course, they're a little bit distraught because, some person may be more emotional than others. But y'all feel the same way when y'all not. I know somebody who don't care to be touched as much. And then I know somebody who will climb all over me without any issue. And I'm not necessarily against it. It's just that it throws me off guard because I'm so used to, not really touching one person. And then I get with another person and they're trying to climb all over me like I'm a tree and I'm only 5'3". You can't go nowhere, bro. Like,
Well, you're different with a different. You're dealing with a different personality.
so that's what I'm saying. Per person, men won't necessarily express that probably out loud in general, but they may think it. And now that you have access to the internet, you can definitely express that without feeling some sort of way because you're expressing it to strangers. Now, of course, they're going to have their own opinions as well, but it's not going to be that much of an emotional backlash on you if you tell your homeboy and they're like, nigga, shut the fuck up. You a nigga, you alright. Or when you expressing it to a woman and she don't take in your concerns or take in your issues.
Which a lot of women don't. That backfires. And, we tend to get stripped of our manhood for expressing things like that. Well, not even just like that. It's just any complaints, period. But for me, I've never had the urge for like the clinginess on both sides. Like, you can come in and you can hold your woman, or your woman can come and hold you, and it be like, how could I describe it? It's just not too much. Sometimes people are very extra with the expressions of their love for you. I think it could be over the top, and that's another flaw of mine right there. If we want to get back to that, when you overly clingy, I'm definitely gonna be straying away because I can't deal with that. The smothering. Every now and then, you show love and you want to hold and you want to do a little kiss here and there and stuff like that. But when you constantly just breathing down me, staring at me, just laying there looking at me, but we supposed to be laying here watching TV together, that's a lot. I can't.
Your struggle.
Hey,
so
that's just me now.
What would you say that you would have wanted more of out of your last relationship, or something that hypothetically you could have complained about that you weren't receiving, with the exception of space?
I think this is for just introverts. Period. Like, nobody understands that. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some introverts that take it too far. They stretch it. They act like they gotta be by themselves for weeks and days at a time and stuff like that. But I just think sometimes just chilling is not a bad thing. Sometimes you want to just lay there and just chill. And
most people
it's not
do that
that you
all
don't.
The time, though.
Yeah, but when you don't give somebody attention, some of them get offended by that, or they get worried and think that there's some other things, underlying problem, but there is none. Like, you probably don't got much to say. You just want to lay there and just watch TV. It doesn't mean that you don't have to be there, but all that extra stuff that they want to do, sometimes you're just not in the mood for it.
So besides that, because that kind of relates to somebody giving you space, what was something else that you would have wanted more of or received in general in your past relationships?
Receive, I know, understanding, patience, I should say. For the most part, men.
No, I want to generalize it and say men. I want to see about you, this particular Aquarius.
I believe as a male Aquarius, we definitely have our wall up. I would say for myself, maybe not all, but I definitely have my wall up to protect myself. I'm not extremely blocked off and guarded, but I'm very aware. So I pay attention to a lot. And sometimes that may stop me from giving somebody, my full potential. And sometimes when that kicks in, it may be too late to kick in.
Okay, I hear you. But my question was, what was something that you would have wanted more of, or in general from your previous relationship? I know you mentioned patience, but what were they not patient with when it came to you?
I mean, giving me time to, build up that emotion, to either feel how they feel. Because, in relationships, sometimes somebody cares more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
So when you expressing your love for somebody, it may not be matched energy.
Okay.
So I think sometimes people think that the other person is not really interested in them, or at least as much as that person is interested in you. For me, I'm a very mellow, laid back person. So me expressing myself may not seem like I'm interested, but I'm probably actually giving a lot of me to you, more than I would give anybody else. But that goes overlooked because it's not shown in the way that they want to receive it, which I think is unfair, by the way.
Yeah, but it's one of those things like you don't know how they would want to receive it. So unless you ask the question of how would you want to be shown love, which nobody ever really does, then whatever you give, of course, it's not going to look like what they want because you don't know specifically what they want.
But who loves like that, though? I feel
Some
like
people
that's
do.
scripted.
Some people. No, it's not. It's not scripted. It's one of those things like in the idea of communication. If you ask me what I want for Valentine's Day, and I tell you I want Snicker bars, and then you bring me roses, a balloon, and a teddy bear, and you do not include a Snicker bar, we have a fucking problem. Yes, that is a real story. I'll get deeper into it another day. But
I figured that.
But it's the combination of, okay, you know, this is what I want to do for you, but I also understand this is how you like to be loved. So I'm going to combine the two so I can give you some of myself as well as give you some of what you want, you know? I wouldn't look at that as I wouldn't look at that as scripted. I would look at that as like, okay, we're being attentive to each other's needs, we're being attentive to each other's wants.
Well, when I say scripted, I mean like a play-by-play list and book of. When I say scripted, I mean when somebody has an actual list of things that you need to do for them on an everyday basis, I feel it's scripted. You can't tell me how to love you and it be genuine if I'm loving you the way you tell me to love you. At least that's just what I think. I think if I show it in my own way, it is genuine. I feel like if I'm doing it the way you tell me to do it, then where's the realness in it? Where's the pure?
So, to piggyback on what you just said, how you show it may not be seen as love. And I've said this before in the sense of people not understanding how we would give our emotions to a person. You might feel like washing the dishes is me giving you love. But in all reality, I'm just seeing you wash the fucking dishes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's my point. That's
so how would anybody
part.
How would anybody interpret that as your love when that's just a regular human everyday act? That's a fucking chore, so to speak. So you doing a chore that I do, that you occasionally do consistently, would not be considered you showing me love. That's just you doing a chore because that's something in the house that needs to be done.
First of all, now we know that example is a little, out of the way. I'm talking.
No, I picked the simplest thing, so then you can, so anybody can understand it. So,
well, for me, I'm saying like, if somebody tells you, when I get home from work, you need to have my water running, you need to be ready to rub my feet, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And that shows me that you love me. Rather than somebody coming home and feeling like doing these things for you without you even asking or even thinking that you even wanted that in the first place.
Well, that happens. People...
That's a chore.
Well, yeah, if somebody sits down and give you a list, unless that's some...
But that's what you just said, though. You said
no,
somebody
that's not what
telling
I said.
you how they want to be loved. You said, tell me how do you want me to love you?
Yeah, I didn't say give you a list. If I tell you that if I tell you that a part of the way that I like to be loved is you buying me Snicker bars, I'm not necessarily expecting you to buy me Snicker bars every day. That's what I'm
you'd
saying.
be surprised.
And then you would have to, like I said before, add a bit of how you want to love me on top of giving me the Snicker bar. So if I associate Snicker bars with love, and you want to also express your love in your way by giving me a Kit Kat, I'm going to associate you giving me a Snicker and a Kit Kat like, oh, he gave me the Snicker because he loved me, but he also gave me a Kit Kat. That might be his way of showing his love or expressing his love for me, because he also understood, like, this is a way that I see love. This is a way that I feel love. So, of course, nobody giving you a list when you come, oh, have my water, have my food, all is ready on the table, rub my feet. No, I personally have never seen anybody have a list in an expression of way that they want to be loved like that, unless it's like on some like television shit and they being, extremely dramatic. No. However, I do think it is great to have somebody tell you how they want to be loved, because if you don't have an idea of how, and you don't express it the way they can acknowledge it, then y'all are both going to be confused half the fucking time. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're trying to say, but I feel like in a relationship, everything should be, at the decision of the opposite partner, like whether that's what they want to do.
So if somebody just does what they want without taking anything that you want in consideration, that's absolutely fine for you?
No, what I'm saying by that is give that person a chance to do it willingly themselves. That's where I say that the whole is scripted.
No,
if I want to buy you if I want to say I want to go, my lady's at work and I want to pop up at her job with some flowers and bring her some lunch.
Okay.
I don't want to be told that this is what I have to do in a relationship.
Nobody said that you have to do it. This is the
thing.
No,
but this is what I'm trying to say, is that how people tell their partner how they want to be loved.
That's how you had people express to you how they want to be loved, you mean?
Correct.
So you just had a bad situation.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it bad. Maybe because some people, when you're in a relationship, when you have past relationships and you're going forward into a new one, you try to correct mistakes from the old ones. So now you try to be more stern and make sure you receive things that you weren't receiving in your old relationships. So you become a lot more demanding. I think women do this mostly, but I could be wrong. It could be an even playing field on both sides, but I feel like a lot of times that's what happens.
Do you think because women voice it and men choose not to, do you think that's why you see it more so as a more so of a women thing?
I don't know too many demands that men have. I think it's most of men demands are I think they're kind of general.
Which are?
Sex is for one. The amount of sex you have, and I guess how you function in the bed and stuff like that. I think that's just a generalized thing for men. I don't see men making certain demands on how to be treated in a relationship.
Oh, okay.
At least, just like I said, that's my opinion.
Well, yeah.
I could be wrong.
That's why I ain't say nothing, because in my mind, I'm like, you don't be in relationships with men, so you wouldn't.
Well,
you could only speak on your your actual situations and your direct friends, and maybe like what you see versus being in a direct relationship with them. And that's why I was quiet.
Absolutely.
That's why see, I was here sitting quiet, sir. Quiet. So, what would be your demands in a relationship? I know you have the idea you want everything to just be genuine, but I think that's another reason why a lot of relationships, situationships, entanglements, either they don't, last or grow, is because a lot of people choose not to voice things that they would like within a relationship. So what would be some of your, I'll use the word demand, even though that's so aggressive, but what would be some of your demands going forward in your next relationship, situationship, entanglement?
For my partner or?
What do
future
you
partner
want?
or
What do
myself? What
you
do I
want?
want? Well, I would like somebody to understand space for me. You know, that it's not directed towards him. It doesn't mean anything by it. Um, Going forward in my future relationships, I would definitely like to communicate a lot more. I know I struggle with that, and I know sometimes I become closed off. So I make it hard for people to want to talk to me because I want to be left alone. But I would urge better communication. Don't sit there and dwell into the moment of how you feeling and be quiet. Like, speak to me, sit me down, have a conversation. That way we could try to figure out how to work it out.
But in the process of you wanting to automatically be left alone, do you think that would be something you would let the person know going forward in the sense of your relationship?
But when I say space, I don't mean to be for it as in me wanting to be away from you.
Well, no, I know that, but I'm just saying in general, do you think that's something that you would need to let your partner know?
But like, hey, listen, there's gonna be times where I like my space.
Whether you say this is going to be times where I like my space, or even if we get into an argument, I'm going to need a moment to process whatever we just, argued about. I'm going to need a minute. I'm going to need you to give me some space, and then we can, we can come back together and, hash this shit out. Is that something you think you would tell your partner going forward? Because that hypothetically,
Oh yeah,
in all
absolutely.
honesty,
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be something they would need to know.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that's why I mean, like, certain things, whether it be dealing with love or how you respond, it needs to be told, regardless if you feel like it's scripted or not. What would be another demand?
I'm a very simple dude. I don't really have too many demands. I don't even think I have any demands at that.
So there's nothing you want specifically from a relationship. And the idea of, so now I'm about to bring up the whole love language, so to speak, because it's one of those things, like, how I say that because I have the idea that most people know how they want to be treated, whether they've been in excellent past relationships, they've been in horrible past relationships, and also, like you mentioned, with women going through certain things in their past relationships, making sure that it doesn't happen in their relationships going forward. How would you like to be treated besides space? Because that's mainly the only thing you've been mentioning.
Space is the only thing?
Majority, yeah, that's what you've really been mentioning.
Well, I think that's what I value the most, so sometimes I be in deep thought and sometimes I need room to process what I'm going through, or just peace and quiet at that, just be a little getaway. Another demand, there's really nothing that I could think of right now. Hope you edit this part out right here.
I might. I don't know.
Ain't no might, man.
My podcast, I do what I want.
There we go. Oh, man. You got to repeat the question for me again. Now.
So what would be another demand that you would like in a relationship that you would want to be done for you, or how you would want to be loved, so to speak?
Well, you said love language. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because you said space. You already mentioned space. So that's why I was asking, what would be another thing? Because obviously you also said it. You value having your space at the highest level of life. So what would be something else? Because if all a person had to do was give you space, technically, you just need a friend.
Again, space not meaning like that, but I get what you're saying. But you don't got to be on top of your partner for you to have a successful relationship. I think that we all are individuals, and we all had individual lives before you came together. And I think that you come together as a unit, but you still are individuals. You still got friends and a life outside of each other. You build one, but you don't just erase what you've had before.
Yeah, but that's all a part. But I'm putting that together with the idea of space. So what is something else?
Okay.
Because that's not necessarily separate from space, so to
Right.
speak.
I think everybody, well, me, words of admiration. We, I work very, very hard, and I do try to work very hard at my relationship. So I think talking to your man or me, and letting them know that they work, you appreciate everything that they do, and that you acknowledge their efforts. You don't got to do it every day. You don't need to hear it every week, but sometimes show a little acknowledgement.
Oh, so you want them more so to tell you doing
They
a
don't
good
have
job.
to. You can show it. No, you can show it you can show it in different ways. That goes to your man, your woman, or your man doing things to show you their appreciation. It don't necessarily have to just be verbal, because
Yeah.
and that's with anything. If you want your woman to feel like she's beautiful or sexy, you can do that with expressing physical touch. You don't necessarily have to say it, but you do have to say it at some point. Or else they just gonna think you just want sex with them. But
Which most men do, but I'll digress.
whatever.
You did not disagree.
Whatever.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But if a
Okay.
man wasn't attracted, he wouldn't want to touch you.
Okay.
And I know there's an argument that men will touch anything.
Yes, most of them will. And it's also, and I'll also throw this into the idea of being attracted and touched. Like I've mentioned on multiple episodes, sometimes you just don't want to have sex with a person. You can find them attractive and want to be touched and felt on by them, but you don't want to have sex with them. So I think that also can go both ways for men and women as well. I've actually heard a guy was like, nah, I don't want to fuck her. I just want to like chill. So that goes both ways. It doesn't always have to be sexual,
In a relationship?
Whether you want to have a full-blown relationship or even like a situationship. Some people like just going on dates and being touched and felt and cuddled and kissed. But after that, I don't want your penis in my vagina. Keep it in your zipper,
But this is the person being single.
Yeah. Or even
okay.
if you choose, even in the idea of a relationship, sometimes, just like every day, if we want to talk specifically about sex, there are people who have extremely high sex drives, and there are people who have low ones, and there are people who have minimum ones. So if I'm not the type of person that cares about fucking every day, that doesn't mean I'm not attracted to you, just like you said. However, I wouldn't mind feeling on you and making you feel loved through touch, like you mentioned. If you associate being loved with sex, then that's a different problem.
Well, I guess that's one of the things that should be in whoever is involved in that party's list of demands.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's
things that need to be spoken about. That's a leading conversation, I believe. That's a valid leading conversation going forth in a relationship.
Thank you. I feel like I want to say the idea of you feeling like certain things or the way someone wants to be loved as scripted, I feel like you should kind of take that away. And the reason I say that is because, like I said, like I mentioned before, you will always have the option to love a person the way you want to love. But even with the example I gave about washing dishes, if they don't recognize it, depending on what you're doing or how you choose to express it, then they will always be left in the dark. So certain things need to be said and spoken about and communicated. So then when it actually does happen, they'll recognize it as, oh, okay, this is, a little way he's, showing some love, versus you doing it and they just looking at you like, okay, why are you doing it? Like, so we got space and words of affirmation from you. Is that all you need to be satisfied in your relationship, sir?
Oh, no, of course I want sex. Physical
Nigga,
touch, yeah.
we already said that that's a given.
I
Go
ain't hear
away.
you say that. I ain't hear you say that
You
just now.
said that. I don't need to repeat it.
But you the one that was going down the list, and you listed two. I was just making sure we was still there with it.
Sex is here you go. For many people, sex is a default. So back to you and the idea of your demands for your future relationships. You had your space. We already know sex is a given. You said words of affirmation. Is there anything else?
Not that I can think off the top of my head right now.
Like, would you like this person to be into a specific activity or something like that? Because unbeknownst to many people, some of your hobbies or things that you are into, that can be a no-go or a deal breaker as well. Like, I'm pretty sure people who are in love with Star Wars love the fact that they have a partner who loves Star Wars just as much. But if they get with somebody who can give two shits about Star Wars, they might feel some type of way. So are there any other things that you would like to so-called demand from your future relationship?
You definitely got to be into the Avengers, if anything, at all.
You said be into what?
The Avengers. I have a thing for my Marvels. So
the movies? Just the movies?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just the movies. So when those come out, those are must-sees. Those are very quiet moments because you got to pay attention to every detail in there.
No, you don't. You just got to watch this shit like 4 times. That's it.
That's my point. To prevent having to watch it 8 times because you missed it.
How many times did you see the movie already?
To be honest with you, I don't even count. I just watch it when I feel like it. That's how much I love it. Like, I'll just turn it on.
And you always see something new every time you watch it, don't you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it don't matter.
It definitely don't matter. But for me, they don't really have to have anything, we don't have to have related hobbies. I mean, my personal hobbies are for me. Those are my stress relievers. So we don't have to have that in common. So that's for me when I need my time out.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, that's all I got for that part.
Okay. So being that you mentioned words of affirmation as one of the things that you would demand going forward in your next relationship, I'm going to give you the rest of said love languages, and I would like you to rank them from 1 being the most important to 5 being the least important, because there are only 5 definitive love language. I mean, there are some sub ones, but we're not doing that today. So we have words of affirmations, acts of services, physical touch, quality time, and receiving gifts. What is your number 1 out of the 5?
I would say affirmation 1.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that you just said,
receiving gifts, quality time.
That's definitely a 5.
Receiving gifts.
Quality time is definitely in the rank of 1 as well.
No, nigga, you gotta do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ain't no
Oh, well, quality time would be 1. Words of affirmation would be 2.
Mm-hmm.
No, I would rank that as 3. Oh, acts of service.
Yes.
Now, acts of service, what does that include?
It's doing
Is that anything? Is that
it could be anything.
Touch and all that?
No, physical touch is different. Those are 2 separate things. Acts of service is doing things for the other person that brings them joy. That's the simplest explanation I can give you.
Alright, but so physical touch, acts of service. I feel like acts of service and physical touch combined would be so dope,
That's not what we're doing here today, sir. This is not Burger King. You cannot have it your way.
Nah. Ask the questions again, and then I'm gonna come straight.
Your struggle is real. Words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, quality time, receiving gifts.
So, quality time is definitely number one.
Okay.
Number two, I would have to go with physical touch.
Okay.
Number three, acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
Number four, words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And number five would be gifts.
Okay.
In that very order.
Okay. See, and the idea of you mentioning words for affirmation as being, kind of one of your demands, I would have thought you would have had that higher on the chart.
I'm thinking about it as in if we're already invested in this relationship and we've been together, I think the other stuff kind of come naturally. I just think.
Well, it doesn't matter how long. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter how long you've been in said relationship. This is just shit that you want in general, regardless of who it is and how long you've been knowing them.
Well, it's not. I don't think I made it a high demand at the time when you asked me the first question. I just think that it's important to let your partner know that you acknowledge their efforts at times. I don't think it gets said enough.
Okay. I hear you, bro.
Do you really, though?
I hear you. All right. Do you have anything else you would like to share?
I feel that women need to be... Nah, I ain't got nothing to say. That's going to start a whole war.
No, say it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
I ain't got nothing to say.
It could be... Nah, don't take back your word. I want to hear it. It could be a topic on the Instagram post. Let me know. What was you going to say?
Women need to stop assuming that men are cheating. Because women be cheating while they assuming, but we don't want to talk about that.
We can have a whole conversation about that and make that another episode if you like.
Oh, absolutely. Because these women be out here acting like they God's gift and angels on this planet. Well, meanwhile, the cable guy.
And on that note, look forward to our next episode where both Aquarius discuss the cheating situation between men and women. Live long and prosper, you beautiful humans. Bye.